There were no questions on the Jenny homework. How'd you guys do on that? No questions at all?
Jenny
Yeah.
questions?
Yeah, that writing, that's the kind of your, eating your vegetables, right? That's the stuff that makes you really strong in Latin, being able to create those sentences. There is some leeway in word order on those, but Latin does prefer kind of a sandwich format, right, with the subject at the beginning, although we're going to talk today about I'm going to give you guys a little taste of what Latin poetry does and why the inflected language works. But were there no questions on that at all? I know it's still early in the book. Usually by the time we work our way through, I start getting lots of questions on those.
Was it the stage 8 derivatives, the one that we're talking about?
No. Jenny First Latin.
Oh, that one.
This was in in the Jenny First Latin book.
Then I had a couple of questions.
Okay.
All right. So for number 7 on page 18.
Okay.
I got something different. Hang on, I need to get my book.
Oh yeah, for the exercises this week, this stand that you have was upside down.
I'm going to tell you right now, whatever you're doing right now, Michael, it's muffling your audio, so it's actually hard for me to understand what you're saying. It's like
Can you hear it now?
A lot better. Yeah, that's a lot better. See if you need to have the microphone a little closer to your mouth for that to work.
So, when I did the homework this week, you scanned it backwards, so I couldn't read the.
Okay, I thought you could still read it. It was upside down.
I think you can flip it on the thing because I looked at it and I could flip it.
You could flip it on a PDF if you open it down. If you open it, it'll
allow you. Yeah, my mom just told me that.
Okay. Well, again, so this is, believe it or not, these are a lot like math in that you want to make sure your earlier is pretty solid than when you step up, because otherwise you get shakier and shakier as you try to put these sentences together.
Like a Jenga tower, like you're taking out things.
Yeah, actually, yep. So what was your question on here, Ben? Because like I said, I am used to getting some questions on these.
For Sunny, number on page 18, number 7.
Which page, number 7? Because there's more than one. There's
A7.
Okay, number 7. Okay.
So I got let me see. Where is the woman in the forest? Is that the correct translation?
I believe it's are the women. I believe it's plural.
How do you remember if it's are, like sons are?
Let's see. Hold on. It would be sunt for are. Let's see. Let me double check. I have to go back. I have a solution, but I don't have number 7. Suntne. Sunt would be are. Sunt is plural.
Okay.
Okay. And it's feminae. So.
But how would you, like, in a question, like it could say like how or a bunch of other questions, but how do you know what question it's asking?
Okay, so if it said sunt feminae in silva, that would be there are women in the forest. Okay? When they say sunt ne, the ne is what tells you it's a question. Are there women in the forest? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so the
ne is like the Latin question mark.
Okay.
Okay? It automatically means that's a question. Okay?
Okay.
And if it was is the woman in the forest, it would be est ne femina, right? In silva, that would be a question. Is the woman in the forest? Sunt ne feminae, are the women in the forest?
And you would put it in front of every single verb, correct?
What do you mean?
Like if you pugnotni.
Yeah, the ne will always go on the verb. That's where Latin breaks the verb rule, where the verb usually isn't the first thing in the sentence. So like if we want to say the men are, carrying, I don't know, their children, okay? I would say, are the men carrying their children? You wouldn't say weary ne. Well, actually, I'm trying to think. We never do that. We'd say portant ne. But the ne has to be on the first word in the sentence. Let me think about that. Do we allow that? It's like customary to do it with the verb. I'm trying to remember if it's a hard and fast rule, if it must be. You're actually going to get more of those questions in the next chapter. And you realize that just a lot of Latin allows us to break rules. Let's see, but there's a few. Latin has a few fast rules that you cannot break. And I'm not seeing, every single one I'm seeing, the verb is what's getting the nay. Okay. Yep, it's always,
Okay.
I always see the verb. That's the safest way to do it because that's the only way I've ever seen it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and other than that, like if you're making little mistakes, make sure you just catch yourself and, kind of like math, doing math homework, it's just make sure you understand why, like the question you just asked. And that's what gets you good at these, okay? It's the more you practice, the better you get. I'm kind of, it's funny because over the years I've done more and more of it, and it's interesting to me how fast and how little I actually have to think about writing in Latin because I've done a lot of it. Now, if it's high level, I have to slow down and take it slower because high level Latin is difficult to write in. Okay, it's a complicated language. Anyway, Megan, you're doing good?
Yep.
Okay. We're going to take it a little slower. You're just going to work with one chapter this week. But before I get to that, I'm going to go to the sententia. First of all, what was the sententia this week?
Ooh, I know it.
Okay.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay. Feleces sunt rerum specie.
So falaces sunt.
Falaces.
Yep, sunt rerum species. And I didn't have the recording on the website. I do now. Okay, so if you want to go back over the recording. This week, so like I said, I'm gonna soon I'll have something else I'm gonna do with the accumulated let's see here, hold on a minute, I'm gonna go over to the website though because I have okay, so what I have here is the image for this week's sententia.
A polar bear.
It's a polar bear. Can you see what's on top of the polar bear? Can you see it? Can you figure out what that is? Anybody? Go ahead. Go ahead, Michael.
Okay. That, my friends, is a penguin with symbols.
Yes. On top of a sleeping polar bear.
Is it something like don't disturb something? Or like if you disturb silence, bad things will happen?
Well,
Audentes fortuna.
But don't tread on
there it
eggshells.
is. Audentes fortuna juvat. Okay, if you look down below, you can see the actual phrase. Okay.
I'm so smart. I was able to read something.
Yeah, let's see if you can figure out what it
Okay.
means, though. Okay. All right. So actually, you should know what fortuna is. That was a word in your
Fortune or good.
Yeah, fortune. Okay. Your hand's up there, Michael. Did you have something additional to add?
No, that was from earlier.
Okay. All right. So here is where you guys have run into this word in Cambridge. What is audax? You also saw this word, audicissime. That was in the Gladiatores story. What do both of these words signify?
Something about hearing.
Huh?
Something about hearing.
A good guess, because audio, but it isn't. Okay, this actually, the A here is going to be a little bit important. But yeah, audio, no, that was a good guess, but that isn't going to be what it is. Anybody remember these words from the story? Nobody does, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
I'll let you go back to, so see if you can find it in your book. Which, by the way,
Very boldly.
I've left my CLC book in the other room. I'll be right back.
Oh yeah, Megan's right. It's
What is
boldly, like audacious.
Boldly. Hold on a minute.
Good job, Megan. Did you look at your book for that, or is that pure
Yeah, I was
genius?
looking in my book. I couldn't remember that.
Oh,
nice job.
Well, don't
So-
tell me that, 'cause that's not what I want to think. Just kidding.
Okay, so here we go. So audax would be the adjective that means bold, okay? Audake is the adverb, which means boldly, okay? So audentis, it comes from this, okay? This is actually a line right out of Virgil's Aeneid, and it is the bold, as in the bold people or daring people, okay? So what we have is fortune, okay?
Favors the bold.
And that's actually, we would probably translate it that way, kind of colloquially, okay? Okay, this verb here, euare, this means to help, okay? Or to give help to, okay? Either one, all right? So it literally means fortune helps the bold. Fortune gives aid to the bold, okay? But yeah, we would probably more closely interpret this to be fortune favors the bold. Or we often say fortune favors the brave, but it's literally the bold. It could be even the bold as in the rashly bold, right? Okay, so that's your sententia this week, all right? And I do have all of the links updated here for sententiae, okay? It's one of my favorite ones. I know I've got a lot of favorites. Okay, that is sententia. Let's go to nunc loquamur, all right? So I'd like you to get out your nunc loquamur book, right? Okay, this one here. And you were supposed to finish this dialogue and come up with your own unique dialogue, okay, that you're going to say. You're going to introduce someone to the class. And you can pick your partner, okay? So you're going to be the A part, all right? Somebody else will be the B part. So
It's on page 10, right?
pages 8 and 9.
Okay.
Okay, pages 8 and 9. Velum trare tibi. Okay. All right. So I will actually be I'll do the B part to somebody's A. You are to create your own unique introduction. Hopefully you did that. Did you do that, Michael?
No comprehendo.
What?
Don't worry, he does that all the time.
Does that mean you didn't do it or you didn't want
I think
to
he
do it?
doesn't want to be asked the question because he didn't do it.
Did you do it,
But
Ben?
No.
I did one.
Huh?
I did one.
That's all I asked for was one. Well,
Yeah, I didn't
Did you
do
do
it
one of your
either.
own? Megan, did you do it, yours?
No, I didn't.
What? Guys, I talked about this last week. Ben, did you do yours?
I didn't see it on the schedule, or I missed it. It was my bad. I forgot to check it again.
Yeah, please. Especially, I'm going to show you. I
I didn't check it.
I know, you guys. There's your progress will be affected.
I think I can wing it though.
Okay, here we go. I want to show you guys something. Okay, so, whoops, that was not what I meant to do. Okay, you guys can see the schedule, right? Okay.
Yep.
It says complete the written work for this dialogue and present your personal introduction in class. Okay,
You said we could
so-
do anybody, right?
Yeah.
But
anybody.
I had a hard time translating the name into Latin. So
Okay.
do we just leave the person's name as it is?
Yeah, if
or-
it's not really very translatable, yeah, you would. See what you let me see what you came up with. Okay, so you read part A, I'll do part B.
All right. Salve, quid agis?
Bene mihi est, quid agis tu?
Reciti gratias. Willem tradieri. Tibi meum Michelle.
Ma'am Michelle, okay. Oh, Michelle.
Hey.
Michelle, mihi per gratum est te convenire. So Michelle could be a French pronunciation of Michael. You know that, right? Michael?
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, okay. So was Michael your person there?
Yeah.
Okay. So to get the pronunciation right, you'd want to practice with the recording, okay? But that's a start, all right? That's something right there. Michael, did you say you think you could wing this one?
Sure.
Okay, I tell you what, I will do an A.
I have it. I have
Okay,
it.
I know, but I'm gonna do an A part, you do the B part, and then we'll swap you over with Megan, okay?
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna do an A part. Salve, quid agis?
Bene mihi est, quid agis tu?
Recte gratias. Velum trare tibi delicium cuniculum meum petrum. Okay.
No comprendo.
Okay, a delicia is something that delights you. It's actually a Latin
Yeah.
word for a pet. Okay,
Okay.
and a cuniculum is a rabbit. So this is
Oh,
my
that's right.
this is my delicium cuniculum meum petrum. What do you think my rabbit's name is?
Oh. Yes. Bunny. We'll just name him Bunny.
Petrum? What do you think petrum would be?
Well, so I couldn't remember everything you said, so I'm trying.
Okay,
Yeah,
so-
Petrum is Peter, probably.
Yes, it's Peter's the name of my rabbit.
Yeah.
Okay, so recte gratias. Velum trare tibi. That's the part that's on every dialogue. I would like to introduce to you. Okay.
Okay.
Delicium meum cuniculum. My pet
So
rabbit.
my pet rabbit. Yeah.
Petrum. Okay.
Oh, so the comment. Okay.
And you would say to my rabbit,
Petrum. Mihi pegatum este convenere.
bene. That's it. Okay. So now,
I'm trying to say it like the guy on the recordings. He's like, ugh.
oh, some of the
That's funny.
voices are hilarious, actually.
Yes.
In the recordings. Okay.
Okay.
Marque.
Yes.
And then they like, yeah, I love the nunc occupatus sum one is one of my favorites. That's I'm busy right now. Yeah. So, how about, so can you come up with an A part and have Megan read the B part?
Sure thing.
Okay.
Sorry. Quid
Nice
agis?
rough voice right there.
Bene mihi est, quid agis tu?
Recte gratias. Ooh.
Velum trare tibi.
I'm trying. Wait, hold on. I'm trying to. Oh, okay. Velum tradere tibi cubicula me. Wait, that's the wrong thing. Oh, cucurbita meum dedi.
Quidus nomen?
Dead.
Dead? Do you mean mortum?
See.
Okay. See? Spanish class? You could say ita. That would be a way to say, yes, it is. Okay. Or
Okay.
recte. Recte means you're right. Okay, so.
Oh, sorry.
Is the
I don't
name
want
name morte? What is,
No, you might want to do that again. So, Velum trare tibi.
No, I will.
You're introducing.
I will. Okay. Okay. So let's do this. That way.
Sure.
Quid agis?
bene mihi est, quid agis tu?
Recte gratias. Velum tradere tibi cucurbita meum.
Morte mihi per gratum este convenire.
Convenire. Yep.
Oh my God.
Convenire.
Ita.
It's interesting the way Latin puts words together. Convenire, it has to, venire means to come. Con means like with or together. When you come together with somebody, you're meeting them. You're coming together with them. So convenire literally means to come together with somebody or to meet them, okay? To gather with them. All right? Okay. All right. Somebody's got a Okay, so you guys do you see what I'm looking for on these dialogues? All right, there are, there's that you're to be filling these lines in, okay, right? And then, like, I actually wrote my particular one over here. You could write it over here, but when I'm saying produce one of your own, that's where you're gonna write it over here, okay? And then I may call on you to trade a dialogue with somebody. That's why listening to the dialogue on the website with the recording to get the pronunciation down will yield benefits. Some of them are a little easier to say than others. That mihi per gratum est convenire is a little bit of a mouthful, and so is velum trare tibi. And you just get a little better at them if you practice them with the recording. Okay? All right, so that's nunc loquo amor. I'm going to give you the next one in the book to do next week. Okay? All right.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Just a quick thing about Jenny, because actually the next chapter, I think almost everything in this next chapter you guys have already seen. And then I'm actually going to talk about these short little stories in Jenny, where they come from. Okay. Chapter 5 in Jenny, the content starts on page 20. So if you have your book, you can open that. I'm gonna think that in Henley, you guys have seen most of this vocabulary. I know you've been introduced to the second declension neuter. So a lot of the grammar is going to matter. What Jenny does is it does have you start paying attention to some details, and that's because Jenny really is trying to prepare you to get to a point where you can, at some point in the future, be reading Latin poetry if you want to. I'm going to give you a little idea, like what's that end in mind going to look like for the future, if that's something you want to do. So you already know the declension. There are little things either that they do point out in order to understand, like there's a difference between, let's see, am I in the right chapter? I'm on the wrong page. 20 is page 4, level. Yeah, we're on page, sorry about that. Chapter 5. I know I was supposed to look for the neuter. 28, page 28. So you're working with words like bellum, verbum, caelum, donum, frumentum, right? Opidum, periculum, regnum, verbum. All right, those are the main ones that we run into. And then we're working more with these prepositions. Okay, so a couple weird things. Language can be messy. They don't follow rules quite as closely as, say, math does, right? So when we see the ah or the ob, you guys have already seen this, that we can say ah mare, right, from the sea, or we could say ab ovo, right, which is from the egg, right? Those were the two sayings, two sententii that I had you memorize. And so that ah and ob tend to fairly closely follow a rule that if it comes before a consonant, it's just going to be ah. If it comes before a vowel, it's going to be ob. The one that drives me nuts is a and x, because that does not follow that rule very closely. So you already know there's already some sayings, like you guys have already heard of a pluribus unum, right? That means out of the many comes one. And so that's the motto of the United States. But there's also a saying ex libris, okay, which means out of the library, out of somebody's library. It's been loaned from a library. And so the X is in front of an L, okay? We also have ex nihilo, which is out of nothing. So A and X don't always follow those rules. So don't get frustrated. You start to get to where you recognize a lot of it has to do, language rules often happen because of what was easiest to say. And there's a commentary in this chapter that talks about how N's turned into M's because it was easier to say the M before that consonant than the N, right? People are inherently a little bit lazy. So if it's easier to say something one way, language then would kind of morph, right? And evolve over time and change. And that's how we get these changes, is because when people speak, we find that certain transitions between vowels and consonants, or consonant and consonant, are easier, okay? So don't get too frustrated about little niceties like that. The main thing that you're catching is when do I use the ablative and when do I use the accusative. So if I said, oh boy, Ben, looks like Ben's having some trouble, right, with his, hold on a minute here.
Yeah, he left earlier in another classroom we had.
Yeah, so it looks like he's having some issues. So let me give you an example here. This is what you're going to be kind of paying attention to. I could say, feminae aquam in via. I could also say feminae aquam in viam. What is the difference between those two statements, those two sentences? I'm going to say it one more time. Sentence 1. Feminae aquam in via. Sentence 2. Feminae aquam in viam. Have you guys, so the only difference is an M. And how does that change the meaning in Latin?
Well, a lot, because the direct object changes as who's getting.
But an M isn't always a direct object. And in fact,
True.
So this, right, if we say ad oppidum or ad, you know, what's another, ad velam, right? It's that we would be going towards, so there's what's called the accusative of the place to which, right? If we're going toward a place, then that's really receiving the action of, it's not really a verb action, it's a preposition. We would say grammatically, it's a prepositional phrase. Okay, hi Ben. So interesting, you're floating in and out. Hopefully, are you able to see and hear everything okay?
Yeah, I can hear and everything.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, so the first sentence, feminae,
What page are we on?
Huh?
What page are we on?
We're not on a page. I made these sentences.
Oh.
Feminae aquam in via portant. What am I saying there?
To the village?
Via would be the way or the road. The women
road.
are carrying
The women are
water
carrying water on the road.
on the road or in the road. They're just there, right? That would be the ablative of the places in which, okay, or even so. That's where we're not really. They're just there. But if I said feminae aquam in viam portant, what am I saying? How is that different? In viam would indicate into they're heading towards an into.
Oh, true.
Right. So it's a different thing, right? This would be like they're in their house and now they're going into the road or onto the road. So we would say they were carrying the water onto the road. So that's the difference. Like if we're heading towards something, we're going to use that accusative. If we're just there and hanging out, we're going to use the ablative. And that connotation follows through with a lot of the difference between the ablative and the accusative. Okay. So there's some little niceties there, details there to pay attention to as you're doing. I think the sentences actually in 5 are easier than some of the ones that you were doing in 4. But that's kind of what they're emphasizing. Then you already know with the neuter, actually with the neuter, life gets a little easier because the accusative is exactly the same as the nominative, right? So it doesn't matter. You know, if bellum it could be accusative, or it could be a subject, or it could be the direct object. It's still going to be bellum. So neuters are actually kind of nice from that standpoint. I don't have to think of a second form. If I know it's neuter, I know it's going to be the same. Okay. So it's kind of like I said, that's the main idea there. How did you guys do in terms of reading that short little story on page 23, the Trojan War?
I had a bit of trouble with it.
Okay. Did you read my translation on the website?
I didn't know you had a translation.
It was on the solutions. Did you guys get a chance did anybody get a chance to see that? Because I was hoping you would take a look at that because it shows you kind of how to instead of translating word for word, how to basically, when you translate from one language to another, you really want to put it in words and syntax in the way we would say it in our language versus a word for word translation, which could seem very kind of wooden, often boring, right? It's a little bit different. And there's also, in storytelling, even today, you might find that we might tell a story in the present tense, even though it happened in the past. Like, there's like jokes that say, hey, two guys walk into a bar and, blah, 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 like present tense, right? Or there's this, there's this boy who does, we can tell stories in the present tense. And so they've couched all of the verbs are present tense right now because Jenny has kept the verb forms to be very simple because you're working on your noun endings and your prepositional, constructions, and didn't want to make things too complicated. So if you look at the story, on page 23, it says, in Asia est vir clarus, right? We're saying, there's this famous man in Asia. And that we could say it very much more naturally than saying, in Asia, there is a famous man. That would not be very good storytelling technique, right? So feel free, as long as you're not changing the story or butchering the grammar, right? Feel free to take what you see and put it in something that would mean exactly the same thing, but would be more natural, right? The way we'd say it. So, vir est anchises, and the reason I like you guys reading these, if you have a goal next year of taking the Latin exam, you need to know these names. This is a very simplified version of one of the beginning parts of Virgil's Aeneid. And Anchises is Aeneas's father, okay? And it's a very famous story about how they flee Troy after the sack of Troy by the Greeks, right? Where Aeneas actually carries his elderly father out, and his son follows, but his wife Creusa, she ends up getting lost and she ends up dying while they're fleeing. So he ends up losing his wife. Okay. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did anybody else find the solutions on the website? I wasn't able to.
Let me see.
I don't remember seeing them.
So this is from chapter 4. Did I not scan them? I thought I did.
Oh, chapter 4, Jenny's solutions. Oh, they would be there, not just in the stories. Okay, I was kind of looking for something that was in the. I was just doing this just now.
So if you look at, I actually wrote this out for you guys. I'm writing. I've never written.
Don't worry, it was my fault, not.
Yeah, but just you can see, right? I've written this out, okay? And so this is kind of like my version of how I would translate it, again, so that it's not a wooden version of how to translate it, okay? So make sure that you avail yourself of these resources. I've learned a lot of Latin, both from, writing it. Hold on a minute here, I've got to close my email, it's popping up on me. But reading it and seeing how other people have interpreted, right? And so understanding, getting out of a word for word translation mode is going to be the key to being able to read, understand it, and internalize it as a language. It's going to make it easier, right? Okay. So there's a couple little things I would like you to pay it. There's also very important words in here that you're going to see a lot. But I'm going to have you drop down to the very end of that story where Aeneas speaks, okay? And he says, non iam est Troia, okay? It's a Greek word, so it doesn't translate over to Latin very well. Iam is a really important word, and it can mean already, but it can mean no long. Non iam means no longer, right? So Troy is no longer. Troy doesn't exist anymore. Troy is gone. It's a kind of an elegant way of putting that. And he says, sed Dei deaeque viros Troiae amant. Okay, this is super important. These are like words that the Romans revered, were words like this. Said, but the gods and goddesses, and hopefully you're getting used to the que indicating that it's an and. Usually when things are like kind of naturally paired together, we would use et in between if it wasn't. But if we're talking about like men and women or boys and girls, right, we would definitely, very often we'd say puer puelai que versus puer et puelai, okay? And so he's saying, but the gods and the goddesses love the men of Troy. So even though Troy is gone, they have the blessing of the gods and the goddesses on them. That's kind of what he's saying. So, and he says, etiam feminas et pueros puelasque amant. They even love, or they indeed, etiam could be even or could be indeed. Indeed, they love the women and boys and the girls. They love all of the Trojan people. And he says, hodie ad Europam navigamus. We are now sailing. We're going to sail today towards Europe. Okay. So I would recommend on these, don't get caught up on the word for word. Get more focused on getting the poetic meaning. You're not reading flat out poetry. You're going to see today just how difficult that can be. But this comes from Virgil's Aeneid. So there is a little bit of poetic license with this. Okay. And so the story after that, the next story, let's see, where was that? You're going to run into that, and that's going to be in chapter 5. And so what I would like you to do is, that's on page 31. It's not very long, okay? And again, the way I would like you to do this is before you put pencil to paper, okay? Think about the whole sentence, all right? And think about what it means, and don't translate word for word, okay? Think about this whole meaning of the sentence. So if we did the first one, okay? It says, post longum bellum in Asia, Aeneas cum amicis ab Asia ad Europam navigat, okay? So this one I could actually, the syntax of this sentence isn't too bad in English. You could then, so that would be like number 1, read it in Latin, okay? Number 2, I am going to kind of think through each of the words, right? Post longum bellum in Asia, after a long war in Asia, Aeneas, cum amicis, with his friends, ab Asia, this is the ablative from which, from Asia, ad Europam navigat, okay? And that would be Yoda speak if we did word for word. So we could say Aeneas sails from Asia to Europe with his friends. That would be kind of more the natural way to put it, right? Okay. All right. So that's what I'd like you to do for this. You don't have a whole lot left. Little heads up. Okay. Has anybody ever heard of a woman famous name called Dido? Anybody hear of Dido?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So there have been famous operas, famous stories written about Dido. And Dido was the queen of Carthage. Okay, we're going to find out that he ends up sailing to Carthage, which is the northern, pardon? Yeah?
This is a woman?
Yes, Dido is a woman. Queen.
Isn't it funny that it's a woman that has the name with an O at the end of it?
Yeah,
in language that is so masculine and feminine ending based.
But Dido's not a Latin name because she was Carthaginian. She was not Latin. Okay, so her name.
I didn't.
However, I will tell you, they gave her a Latin name, and that's what I was getting to. Look at Alyssa. Okay, Alyssa of Tyre. Look at the little question, the little asterisk. Usually known by her nickname Dido. Okay, she was the foundress of Carthage in North Africa. So they're going to refer, Latin does this a lot, gives people nicknames, uses different names for the same person. You kind of have to know that to know who they're talking about. So Alyssa will turn out to be Dido, the same person, okay? And she's the queen of Carthage. She's the foundress of Carthage. She built Carthage to be what it is, which is, you know, a very prosperous and successful and strong kingdom, okay? So that's who we're talking about in this particular story, okay? So I'm going to leave that to you guys to work with homework, and I'm going to talk just a few minutes about just to give you we're not jumping to reading Latin poetry, but I wanted to give you guys a taste for why Latin is an inflected language, why that was important to them, why they structured their language that way, that the grammar is in the endings and not in the word order, okay? And so I actually have a couple of videos here that I wanted to show you. Hold on a minute here. Okay. This really helps you understand. Okay, hold on a minute here.
I need scanning.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna do a little, like, why in the world would anybody? Okay. Okay. So this would be like level 3 to level 4 Latin. Okay. This will be, you guys have a lot of Latin yet to learn to do this. But what I want you to start paying attention to is Latin like Latin and Greek, both of them use meter. Meter is like a rhythm, okay? They would follow these rules of meter, and that was how they were able to memorize. You know how it's much easier it is to memorize lyrics to music than they are just without music? That's kind of how they were able to memorize enormous amounts of poetry because it was lyrical, okay? So what this guy, I found his YouTube channel. He is absolutely amazing. I have rarely heard anybody, I mean, he's just really amazing. And what he's talking about is when you read Latin poetry, they're actually, for the first time, there are stages. And the first stage where they talk about it here is what they call this monotone, okay? And that's when they're basically trying to find the rhythm, okay? So this is the stage 1 monotone, all right? I'm gonna play just a few minutes of this. I'm not gonna play the whole thing. It's gonna take a little while, but let's see here. Okay, how did I get there? Okay.
In practice.
Right.
Book 1, lines 1 to 7. Stage 1, monotone. Arma virumque cano Troiae qui primus aboris. Italiam fato profugus la vignaque venit. Litora multuile terris iactatus et alto.
Okay, so hopefully you're getting the idea that this is actually marked, that these long parts here, these are long sounds, and these are shorts, okay? So this is long, short, short, long, short, short, long, shalong, long, 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 short, short, long, long. And if you notice, that's going to create a rhythm. This is actually called, what's this called here? Hexameter? Yeah, this is hexameter. The meter stands for that it has a rhythm, and then hex has to do with, I think it's, hex would be hexagon, 6, right? So we end up with 6, I guess you could say, phrases. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each phrase is either a long, short, short, or a long, long, okay? Either way, they're going to take up the same amount of time, all right? So here's the idea, is that they had to find a way, if they wanted to say something, to fit this rhythm. And what I want you to notice is that if the word order does not matter, okay, then if I needed to, for rhythm purposes, switch 2 words, right, around, let's just say I needed to switch a couple words around, I could do that without changing the meaning. I have no word order requirements, or very, very few. There are a few, okay? And so this is famous. I call men in arms, right, okay, of Troy. who first, right, I don't remember all of these actually, originated and spoken from Latvia. So this is the shores, Littora, okay? There's a lot going on here. You'll recognize certain words, but this is the highest level Latin most people will ever get to read is Latin poetry like this. Okay, so it's kind of like in English terms, it would be like reading, War and Peace and or reading Shakespeare. Okay.
Ben's read War and Peace and Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Ben's read War and Peace.
Okay. Probably closer to Shakespeare. But
I have a question.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is there anything higher than Latin poetry?
Latin, okay, so Latin poetry is one thing.
It's harder.
Latin prose can be like reading Cicero, can be very difficult because he was a politician. So it would be like trying to read law briefs, right? Okay, like you could imagine how much English you would have to understand to be able to read like a Supreme Court ruling or something like that, and or philosophy. Okay, Cicero wrote philosophically, so his level is very high level. If you were to take Latin in college, you would at some point not too. In fact, we read small amounts of it here, but to be able to fluently read it, yeah, it's very high level. Like I said, it's like reading law books. So what I'm just going to kind of go over just a little bit to see a little bit of these stages. Okay, just so you can hear a little bit at a time. So now, this one is what it adds inflection. Okay.
Atto profugus la vignaque venit. Litora multui letteris iactatus et alto.
So where is that?
Vi superum saevae memorem iunonis obira. Multa quoquet bello passus dum condere turbe.
Okay, so this would be stage 2.
Inferretque Deos latio.
And then stage 3 they're adding more to stage 3. Let's see here. And I have done this. This is called scansion.
Multa quoquet bello passus dum condere turbe. Inferretque Deos latio genus unde latinu. Albanique patres ad qualtae moenia Romae.
That's the end of it. Okay. And then stage 4.
Stage 4. Pseudo spoken inflection.
So listen to what they say this is. Right?
Arma virumque can.
Instead of artificially raising your pitch and accenting, you replace it with normal stress, but you maintain the rhythm, okay? So this is how they would have, at least the best that we know, how they would have recited it, okay?
Troiae qui primus aboris. Italian fato profugus la vignaque venit. Litora multui letteris iactatus et alto. Vi superum saevae memorem iunonis obira.
Okay. And honestly,
Multa quoquet bello passus dum
even this is still a bit artificial. I have a video of a gentleman reading it far more naturally. Again, this would be, there's very few people who could read Latin like this guy does. There's a reason why his comments are just amazing.
Ah, oui.
So I'm going to just...
Arma virumque cano Troiae qui primus aboris Italian fato profugus la vignaque venit litora. Mutui letteris iactatus et alto. Vi superum saevae memorem iunonis obira. Multa quoquet bello passus dum condere turbe. Inferretque Deos latio.
So what you notice is he's maintaining the rhythm of the meter of the poetry, and yet he doesn't sound sing-songy, right? He's actually giving it all the inflection. He's pausing in natural places that would make sense based on the sentences to give it that context. And this is about as close as we could guess the way a true Latin poet would be reciting Virgil's Aeneid, would be like this, okay? And then again, one more video to give you an idea of another reason why Latin poetry is written the way it is. With meter, it's easy to put it to music. And this is a pretty interesting interpretation here. Before I go on, this is by the Roman poet Catullus. You guys are there, right? Can you let me know you're there?
We're there.
Over here.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I don't have your videos up. So anyway, so this is Roman Catullus. He was, and so listen to what this gentleman does. I'm gonna get to the point where he starts. It's pretty amazing.
Vivamos, mea lesbia, ad quam meus ameus amemus. Vivamos, ad quam meus ameus amemus. Rumoresque sedem severiorum omnes unius estimemus asis. Vivamos, mea lesbia, ad quam meus ameus amemus. Soles occidere et redire possumus, nobis cum semen occidit previsus. Nox est perpetua una dormienda.
Nox est perpetua num dormienda.
Wow, try following that act.
Yeah, he's amazing. He does performances of like Beowulf and all kinds of ancient languages. He's kind of brought back alive. I'll send I'll have all those links up if you'd like to spend a little bit more time. But you could see that Latin's already set up. It's predisposed to be put to music because the meter fits the music. You don't have to change the words or anything. In fact, the English subtitles are kind of clunky. I prefer the Latin subtitles because you can follow the words a little bit better. But you could read that with the Catullus text, and it would be following it word for word to the text. And so we have no audio recordings of what the Latins might have done with music. All we have are their written works. But you could certainly imagine, that the Latins might have very well put them to music. We know that they would do theater and there would be musical performances of poetry. So he's doing a little bit of a medieval version of it too. He's kind of added some melisma and some little bit of license in terms of style. But so that's to give you, like I said, just to give you an idea why the inflected language means it's like you are not tethered to word order. So if you notice in my solutions, do you guys notice I've been taking the time to put macrons, okay, those long lines over some of the vowels. And if you notice that long, short, right, that's to help you understand that vowel is going to be a long, it's not going to be a short, okay? And some things are kind of naturally long. Some you kind of need to, like legatus is really legatus. It's actually a L, the E and the A are long. And so if you were going to put that in poetry, that would be a long, long, short. It would have to fit the meter of the long, long, short part of the sentence. So it's quite a mathematical construction. Has anybody ever done anything like haiku? I know that's one thing. In some English classes, you might do haiku.
I've heard of it, but I haven't done it.
It's a Japanese type of poetry that fits a meter, and every word has to fit.
Isn't it unique? Pretty unique haikus?
Well, I mean,
like you can only have 11 letters or syllables or something like that?
Yeah, it's syllables. Yeah, it has to do with syllables, exactly. And then we even have something like English, we have limericks, right? Da, 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 da. That's a meter. That's a metered type. I mean, it's for us, it's kind of silly stuff comes out of that, but oh, I'm afraid. What kind of poem does a sick poet write? Got an answer to that one? Oh, and haiku. Okay, very cute. Yes. Okay. So that's kind of like I said. It's a little bit of a ways off if that's something that you want to do, but that's kind of why, to some degree, people are like, why is Latin so complicated? Why did they not just do word? Well, that's the reason why. When we do poetry in English, we can't put the subject at the end, right? I mean, we just can't move that word around wherever it might best fit the meter, and it's still the subject, right? So anyway, like I said, just to give you a little bit of a feel for that. Let's see, from here, I think I was going to pick up your stage 9 stories, okay, in Cambridge. See how you guys are doing with those. So I had you read Thermi, right? So you were doing you went through the model sentences again. Thermi means what? Significant, significat, quid significat. Thermi. What is this? What does it mean?
The baths.
Yeah, the baths, right? Okay, which we're finding were very important to Latin culture, the equivalent of their coffee house, right, to hang out at. As odd as that sounds.
Their version of a coffee house.
Yeah, exactly. Anything in the story on page 145, do I need to go over any of that?
145? I think I had a question on 145.
That's the Thermi, the story Thermi.
What is it says Cives Coditiri. I was confused what that was.
The co-TDA, okay?
Yeah.
It's come up before, but it is a word that's easy to forget. It means every day, okay? So co-TDA. So kiwes, the citizens co-TDA every day ad thermas evant. They were going to the baths every day. And by the way, ba can mean was, but it could also mean they used to, all right? It's really talking about, again, in the past, they used to do something. You guys understand the difference between imperfect and perfect? Perfect case?
Perfect and perfect?
Yeah. So the imperfect is they're both past tense.
Oh, I thought you said perfect and perfect.
Perfect and imperfect. Okay.
Okay.
Right?
Yes,
So
we do.
okay. So
perfect means it's already has happened, and imperfect is like it's happening or
yeah,
like it's
like continuous.
or was happening.
Yeah, right. You wouldn't say that.
It's not finished yet.
Yeah, you would say, when I say in the past I was a girl, I wouldn't say it in the perfect tense, right? Because over my whole childhood I was a girl, so it was like over a continuing period, right? So very often in Latin we might say they used to. That's one way to say like over time. They used to do this every day. So ebont, they were, and that's to go is an odd verb. You just see the I, right? But that's to go. So ebont, okay, means they were going or they used to go. So the citizens used to go every day to the baths. Okay, at least the rich ones or the well-off ones did.
It must have been like have raisin skins all throughout the day.
They didn't stay at them that much.
Wait, have what? What?
I mean,
Raisin skin.
You take a shower every day, right? I mean, a lot of people.
Yeah, no, but if they like talk, I was thinking like if they talk and bathe at the same time, and they like to talk to each other for a long time, they'll eventually get raisin skin.
If they did, they didn't actually stay in the baths all day. They would bathe and they would get out and they would kind of hang out. And they'd move from one bath, like they'd move from they actually use all these words. What's the opediterio? Opediterio. What was that?
The first bath thing. It's like the cooler, warm room.
There's the opediterio. Take a look at line 10.
Oh, the changing room. Sorry.
The changing room. The opediterio. And then the tepidarium.
That's the warm one.
Well, tepid is lukewarm. That's room temperature. So tepid, actually, a tepid bath is a room temperature bath. So the tepidarium is not the warm bath, okay? The caldarium, that's the hot water. So they would have like hot springs, or they would heat the water to go in there, okay? And then the frigidarium, do they have the frigidarium in here? They should. They don't have it in this particular story, but there was a frigidarium, which would be the cold bath, okay? Even today, if you ever visit a hot springs, they often have the hot springs, but they also have the cold springs for you to switch over and if you want to just change temperature and cool off, okay? All right, how did you do on in Palaestra? The next one, page 146.
Let's just say okay.
Let's just say okay. Okay, that one I think would it make sense to go through that one? I was hoping to get to the in opediterio, but I've got time still. I've got like 5 minutes. So, how'd you do on this one, Megan?
I went okay. I didn't do it as in deep as I
Okay.
usually do the story, so I don't have a perfect understanding of it.
Let's
but,
go through it.
you know.
Okay, but yeah, let's go through this one. So I'm going to go ahead. I think I'm going to go ahead and read this one. If you listen as much as you can for understanding, right? And I'm going to just kind of at that point just start asking some questions, making sure everybody's catching everything as they go. Make sure if I read any word that you do not understand, would you raise your hand? Put your little hand up on your screen or raise your hand. Yep. Okay. All right. Caecilius quinto discum dedit, quod diem natalem celebrabat. Tum Caecilius filium ad thermas duxit, ubi palaestra erat. Servus quinto discum ferebat. Okay. All those words. Good. All right. Okay. Caecilius.
Ferebat.
Huh?
No, I raised my hand.
Oh, I see a thumbs up. That's why. Okay. Fere. I think of what does a ferry boat do? It carries cars back and forth right across the water. Fere means to bear, to carry. It's different, a little different than portat, because it's kind of more, I don't know, it's a slightly different connotation, right?
Wait, portas? Is that how you say it?
So portat would mean to literally kind of carry. Portat means to carry.
No. The word, is that how you say? Isn't it Porto?
Well, porto means I carry.
Yeah.
Portat means he, she, or it carries.
Okay.
It's portare. Okay. So porto. You could say porto, portas, portat, portamus, portatis, portant. Right. Okay. If you were to conjugate the verb. All right.
And then what does palaestra mean?
Palaestra it's the gym.
Oh, okay.
It's like a willow. We'd call it a palaestra because it's not exactly like a gym, but it's like their version of a gym. Okay.
Okay.
This is where they would do athletics. Okay. And in fact, look at the picture down below to the bottom right. That's a palaestra. Has an open, like a quad grassy area, and it's surrounded. So that would be part of the palaestra.
I even looked up some pictures of it online, and there was some like aerial photos. It were pretty cool.
Yeah. So their version, of course, they wouldn't have indoor gym equipment, right? Exactly. So their version of a gymnasium, they would have some indoor facilities, but a lot of it would be done outdoors. Okay. All right. So Caecilius et filius postquam thermas intraverunt ad palaestram contenderunt. Contenderunt. Remember that one? Okay, hurry. Okay. Turba ingens in palaestra erat. Quintus multus juvenes athletas pugiles conspexit. Quintus multas statuas in palaestra vidit. Everything on there. Comprehensible. So they enter they enter, and what do they see? What's the first thing they see? Quid vident. Anybody? If you're following that, it's in line 5. Quid vident.
I don't see it in line 5.
What did they see? I don't, they actually, so here's where your comprehension comes in. If turba engens in palaestra erat, what would they see? They would see a turba engens. Do you see what I'm saying? So we're seeing
Yeah,
here,
here's tuba.
What's engens?
turba, not tuba, turba,
Toga.
turba.
What's engens?
Okay, engens is huge.
Huge.
Okay.
Okay, so it is.
Turba, think of turbulent, right? Or, well, rowdy, crowd. A huge crowd, okay, was in the palaestra. Just because there was a celebrity there, all right? Okay. So, do you understand that? So they see a huge crowd. Then Quintus, he conspexit, he catches sight of multos juvenes, atletas, pugiles. What does he see? What's multos juvenes?
He sees many something.
Now remember,
Many young boys or something?
many what?
Young boys, wasn't it?
Youths. Okay, so remember in Latin, if you see an I and a U together, that I is going to morph to a J. And you get our word juvenile from that. Okay? So that's the juvenes. He sees multos juvenes, many youths, many young men. Atletas, that should be pretty easy to figure out. We get our word athlete from that Greek word. It's actually a Greek word. You see the TH in there, you know it comes from Greek. It won't be Latin. And then finally, the pugiles. What do you think pugiles are? So question, what is pug? What's
So, Mr. Bennett, I lost where we
Fighting?
are.
okay,
I looked up for something.
We're only on line 6. We haven't gotten very far.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
Is it fight? Is it about something about fighting?
It is. Pugiles are fighters. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So we might even think boxers, right? They're going to people who are. They're not like.
That's right. I remember looking the word up.
Yeah. They're not brawl fighting. They're competitive, right? Fighters. Okay. So yeah, make educated guesses, right? It's funny because pugs, the dogs, a pug. They're pugnacious, as in they tend to be yippy and mad, and they tend to pick fights. They're not a very friendly dog. Okay, all right. So Quintus multa statuas in palaestra. Read it. That one again. Isn't that hard to figure out? What does he see?
Many statues.
Yeah, he sees many statues. Okay, so they used to position statues around, right? Okay, now
So they could look at it.
yeah, exactly. And of course, they didn't have ability to print posters and stuff like that. So that was their way of, if somebody became notorious, well known, they'd get a statue made of themselves. Okay, which this guy Milo, he was another.
What do we get for being famous?
I don't know. Depends what you do. Mother Teresa didn't get anything but notoriety, right? But some people get lots of money. Okay. Pompeiani atletis notissimus statuas posuerunt inquit caecilius. Okay. So the Pompeians posuerunt. Always go to the verb. What is posuerunt?
So they are.
I've put up.
The Pompeians are very famous athletes.
No, posuerunt.
They put up the statues
go straight
of
to
the
the verb.
Okay, so guess what? So the original verb would be pono, but if it's in the past tense, we would say posuit. We get our word position from this. They position, they place, okay?
Okay.
Statuas is our accusative. The statues, athletis notissimis, of famous athletes. Okay, this is Latin, throwing word order, you know, completely backwards. We actually have, if we were to Yoda speak, we'd say Pompiani, of athletes, of notorious or of famous statues they placed, right? So it's just stupid, you know, to try to say it that way. So you have to think, Pompiani, they place statues of famous athletes, right? Okay, they put out. In Kaikilis. In Palaestra, I'm on 10 now. Erat, you do see the numbers on the right, Michael? There are line numbers there on the right hand side. Okay.
Yes.
In Palaestra erat porticus ingens. Okay. Spectatores in porticus stabant. Servi spectatoribus vinum offerebant. Okay. In Palaestra erat. So a porticus would be it's like a, you know, colonnade, and you could see the photo basically what the colonnades are. All right. So the spectators are standing there, and what are the slaves doing?
They are offering up. They were offering wine.
Yeah,
And
winum, right? Yeah. Notice something again. Pay attention to the way Latin puts words together. Offer is actually, fere means to kind of bear, right? Offer means to bear forth, okay? So, and even like profer, so we could have proferabat, we could have oferabat, we have all these versions of fere, okay? And that's where we get our word offer from, okay? So, quintus turbam prope porticum vidit, athleta ingens in media turba stabat. So Quintus, what? What did he see? Not a trumpet. What did he see?
he saw an athlete, a huge athlete in the middle of the field.
What?
So, not yet. The first one he saw what's a turba?
Tuba.
Turba.
Oh, he saw an athlete in the.
No. What's a turba? You need to know that word.
Tunic.
It's a trumpet.
Magna
Oh no,
turba
sorry, it's
est in
the
urbe.
coat.
Huh?
My bad. It's that
It's a
toga.
Tunic.
it's
Out
a
of-
crowd.
Oh,
Oh,
So
that's right. I
it
knew
comes
that.
from the word like turbulence. You know, turbulence is kind of like this. Crowds get rowdy. Okay, that's where the word comes from. They thought of if people got together back then, these kinds of crowds were not like gatherings. They were kind of rowdy groups of people. So turba is a crowd, and it's generally an unruly crowd, right? Okay, so people milling about. Okay, so turba, and I think of turbulence, right? It's kind of that idea. There's movement. Okay, so get it. So that's what he sees, and then he sees an atleta ingens in media turba. So he sees this big athlete. What's in media? What's it sound like?
In the middle of? Like
In the middle of.
center.
Yeah.
Middle?
So in media turba. So we get our word median from, right? For me, median and mode, in the middle. Okay. And so he says, quis est atleta ille rogavit Quintus? So quis est. And he could have said quis est atleta. What's quis est atleta ille? What's the difference? Hello?
Elam.
What do you think?
Well, you're the Latin teacher. I'm just. What is it?
Ille. So they haven't given you a whole lot of.
Oh, isn't the Ely like bear or something?
It's okay. Ibi would be there, but you're right. It's kind of one of those little words. So it's the difference of that particular one. Ille would be him. So who is that athlete? Or who is this? You could say this or that. But I would say who is that athlete?
Spartacus.
Versus quis est atleta would be who is the athlete. But this would be, again, they're adding some words for, I mean, the sentences are coming a little bit more complex, but also more interesting, right? So he's saying, who is that athlete? Okay. And Caecilius says, ille, that athlete, that one, that person, he est Milo, atleta notissimus. Okay.
So, what declension is athlete in first?
Atleta, yeah, but it's okay. I'm going to tell you right now, Greek words don't always follow all the words.
Oh, that's right. It's a Greek word. I forgot about that.
But it will be like poeta. Atleta will be treated like poeta or agricola or nauta.
Okay.
It's like
So basically first declension.
it's a masculine first declension. Yep. I know. Remember, I told you I knew there was another one coming up, and I couldn't remember what it was. This is the one. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So, and Milo is a Greek name, so he's not going to be Milo. Notice he ends with an O, and yet it's his nominative. So when we start throwing Greek names in there, we start losing some of the rules. Start to get bent. Okay. And notissimus. Remember, issi is a superlative. So he's not just a famous athlete. He's a very famous athlete. So notus would be famous. Notissimus is very famous. Okay? Got it? So we would refer to that as a superlative.
What was that word you just used? That S word that you described it.
Superlative?
Using it. Yeah, what does that mean?
Okay, so in every language has, we would say, gosh, I can't remember what we call so there's like the regular, like we could say, how should I put this? We could say good, better, best, right? Okay. So good would be the adjective. Better would be the comparative of the adjective. Best would be the superlative. Super means the highest, right? So we could have good, better, best. We could have fast.
Oh, so like the highest quality of something?
Yep. Super means
Okay.
above all. Super means above. So a superlative is the one above all. Okay. So that's why we could have.
Oh, nice. I came up with a good derivative opportunity.
Yeah. Exactly. So when we're saying, I say it's superlative, it's the best. Okay. So we're saying, so notus would be well known. Okay. Notissimus would be very well known, or could even be most well known. But we would usually say just very well known. Okay. It's like to a greater degree. Okay. All right. All right. So, and that's actually that grammar. So some of the grammar, this is why Latin teaches you grammar, because that same grammar actually applies. My daughter was really super shocked when she took Japanese at Grossmont, and so much of the grammar she learned in Latin applied to Japanese. Different alphabet, different phonics, but grammar tends to be grammar. How they do it might be different, but obviously every language is going to have a way to say a quality, an adjective, and then to be able to compare it to something else, and then to show you which is the best, right? So languages do this naturally. So it's just a matter of how does that language accomplish it. Okay? All right, so Caecilius et Quintus ad Milonem contenderunt. So what are Caecilius and Quintus doing?
You're arguing?
Not arguing. You're thinking contend, but yeah, that word contenderunt, it just means to hurry. Yeah, okay. So they hurry ad Milonem. They hurry towards Milo, right? Okay, there's that. That is the accusative of the place to which. They're hurrying toward him, so he takes the accusative. All right. Quintus, athleta discum novum ostendit. So what does he do? Ostendit. We get our word ostentatious from this. Somebody who's ostentatious they show off. They're very showy, right?
Oh, like Ben. Kidding.
It would more describe you.
So that's what there's a word for that.
There we go.
Yeah.
Look at those sparkles.
So,
Ben.
That's your SAT word of the day. But ostentatious. If you're ostentatious, you show off. And ostend it would mean to show something. It doesn't necessarily mean show off, but it does mean to show it. Okay. So he shows.
Yeah, Michael,
him
show your face.
What does he show him? I'm trying to get through the story by 4
His
o'clock.
tunic. His robe.
His discum noem. His new disc.
What's going on?
This was his birthday present, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Pretty dangerous.
That's
birthday.
how long could have been.
Yeah. Okay. Milo, postquam discum inspexit, ad medium palaestrum processit. Okay. So Milo, after he
Was it?
Looked at the disc or inspected it?
inspects it would be inspected.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks it over, Yep. We could literally say he inspects the disc.
Nice disc right now.
And what does he do? Ad medium palaestrum processit.
He goes to the middle of the field of plasta.
Yeah, just say palaestrum. That's what it is.
Okay.
And processit, we could even say proceed, right? We could use the English word that's closest to it. He proceeds to the middle of the palaestra. And then what does he do? Atleta palaestrum circumspectavit et discum emissit.
He shows off.
What?
He shows off,
He throws the disc.
He throws it after
aka showing off.
after circumspectat. So spectat means to look. Circum means around,
Looking around.
like the circumference.
He
of
looked
the
around and then he threw the disc.
So first he looks
The
around.
disc.
He's aware of his surroundings. He doesn't want to hit anybody, and he throws the disc. Okay.
The disc flew through the air.
Discus longe per auras evoluit.
He wallowed it.
So evoluit.
Wallowed it.
So
He threw it far and
Yeah.
it.
well,
He
yeah.
He
So,
flew through the air.
right. The disc flew. Okay, the disc here is the subject. The disc flew, and longe, longly, right?
It also means far, right?
Say far. Yeah, in English we would say far.
Megan's right.
So it threw far through the air. Spectatores atletam lauda verunt. Oh, you're so great, Milo. You do, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
You're
Michael
awesome.
there for a second.
You're awesome, Milo. Okay.
Thank you.
Servus Miloni discum quaesivit.
Does that say a servant of Milo goes to get the disc? Or goes searching for the disc?
And it searches for the disc. They would fetch. Of course, these guys would not go and get their own, right? They'd send a slave off to fetch it, right? The servus postquam discum invenit. What's invenit?
Oh, no, he came into
So
the-
this is interesting. So it comes from that meaning. To come into something means to discover it or to find it. Inventions are like you come into an idea, right? An invention. There's some other English derivatives. They aren't exactly the same, but it's like a discovery. You find something. So invenire is to find it, okay? So, or he discovers it, okay? So he literally comes into it, right? He finds it. And then what does he do? Ad millonem rediit, right? So it has to do with giving it back, okay? Servus atleta discum offerebat, atleta tamen discum non accepit. So what just happened there? Want to try that, Megan?
From which part?
Did I lose
I
you?
lost track on the lines.
Yeah, I just read lines, let's see,
22.
21, 22. Yeah, 22.
Okay.
Okay.
The servant was offering the athlete the disc, but
Yeah.
he would accept it.
So the athlete, however, he did not accept it. And why did he not accept it? Because discus non est meus.
It wasn't
was not
his.
his.
Huh? Say it
It
again?
wasn't his disc.
Yeah, it's not mine. And so he tells him, so servus quinto discum tradidit, right? In Latin, to tradidit doesn't mean to trade to get something back. It's a one-way transaction, right? He hands it over to him. tum juvenis quoque discum emissit. What does Quintus do there? Then
He throws
and
He throws
quoque.
it.
servant hands the disc to Quintus.
Well, no. That's first the servant hands it, then tum juvenis quoque
Oh, sorry.
discum emissit.
Then the youth
Missed it.
also throws disc.
However, and the discus iterum per aurus evolavit. What does iterum mean?
Meanwhile,
No, iterum. If you reiterate something, what are you doing? You reiterate something. I'm going to
you're
read
doing it again.
instructions again. So the disc again flew through the air. Okay, but discus tamen statuam percussit.
Hit the statua.
Yep, exactly. In percussion instruments, right? You hit instruments. And then ehu exclamavit Caecilius, statua nasum fractum habet. Oh no.
Statue has a
alas.
broken nose.
Yeah.
Right?
And Quintus ridebat, Pompiani ridebant, Milo tamen no ridebat. What's going on there? You following, Ben?
Yeah, I'm following.
He was not laughing.
So, yeah, so Quintus laughs. In this case, I would think, remember I told you ridere can mean to laugh or to smile. I'm going to guess he's laughing, right? The
I
Pompiani
do
are
not want to
laughing.
hear his laughing.
Yeah, but Milo's not laughing. And why is he not? Why? Cur tu non rides, Baroga Juvenis, and Milo erat.
Because it was his statue.
Yes. Mea
He's like, my
estatua.
statue. You
Yeah,
just
you
broke
hit
my
my
$500
statue.
car.
Exactly. So the story is
I have a
written-
question about the story.
Sure.
So when they say the disc again flew through the air,
Yep.
does that mean it actually was Milo's disc? Like he didn't recognize it or something?
No.
Did Quintus already throw it?
Well, no. Milo throws a disc. The slave retrieves it.
Yeah.
Wants because it's going to hand it to Milo, but Milo says, "No, it's not mine. Give it to Quintus." Slave gives it to Quintus. Quintus throws it, and it again flies through the
So
air.
it's like just some random other person threw it. Is that what they're
No,
saying?
Quintus did the second
Oh,
time.
that's what I asked. I asked if it was Milo's
sorry.
and then okay.
Milo
It's
threw it
interesting.
first. Quintus threw it again.
Yes, I get that. I was just wondering who did it the first time.
Milo.
Like, why is it again?
Because, well, Milo's the athlete. Milo's the expert. Nothing happened.
He threw the disc the first time?
Yeah. But
Oh
he
my
didn't
goodness,
hit
I'm so
anything.
confused. What?
Milo's an athlete. He's used to doing this. He tested it out. His slave went and got it, returned it, but Quintus sends it out again, right?
But why didn't? But if he would.
But
Wait a minute. What? I thought you just said it wasn't Milo.
the first time was Milo. The
Yes.
second time was Quintus.
Yes. But I'm wondering if since he said it wasn't mine, since Milo said it wasn't my disc, was the one he actually threw the first time?
No, okay. So earlier, Quintus showed his new disc to Milo.
Oh, really?
Milo
Okay.
took Quintus's disc, it looked it over, inspected it, and threw it out. Like, oh, you know.
Oh, I
So
missed
Milo
that part
had
about the
Quintus's
showing.
disc. Then his
Okay,
slave, instead of returning it to Milo, returned it back to Quintus. Quintus is
All
like, oh, I'm going to send it this, and this time he hits one of the statues.
That makes sense. I
Yep.
forgot it
So
was.
They actually, if you notice, there's a picture of a statue with a broken nose. They kind of like took the broken nose statue and made a story around
Wait,
it.
we're
Like maybe that's how that
at.
happened. Huh? Pardon?
Is it on the same page?
It's
Where is
actually,
it
I
at?
think
Spoiled
if
I
rich
don't have that
kids
in
it up,
look it.
yeah, actually, if you look on the internet, I think,
Too bad he didn't have super glue back then.
yeah, take a look. If you look up on images on Google, they show up, right?
What is it called?
Huh?
What is it called?
Milo. There was a famous athlete named Milo. They think one of them is, but of course a number of statues would break their noses because if they fell over, the nose protrudes on the face, right? So you could look up some, you gotta be careful on internet searches though of Greek statues. You could come up with some things you don't want to see. Anyway, so, okay, so that one, I'm glad, whoops, did not want to do that. I'm glad you told me you guys did need to go through that story. So I think what I'm going to do is go a little bit slower. There are 2 stories left in this chapter. I might go out of order. I might do In Apoditerio first because that one's kind of like the 3rd story in the baths, and then In Taberna is an exchange between the 2 women. So guys, make sure you are spending, I don't want to go too fast for you, but at the same time we want to make progress. So make sure you're spending enough. The really Latin, the way Latin works is if you're only picking it up once or twice a week, your progress is going to be kind of slow. Okay, you're not going to make a lot of progress. You need to be picking up at least 3 times a week to be able to make a appreciable amount of progress. So if you could build some time in your week where you're doing some of your even I schedule 4 days, if you're doing it within 3, but I wouldn't double up 2 days at a time. You're just not going to get the benefit for the amount of time that you're putting in. Even if
don't worry, I am doing it every day.
Sure, and that's great. And I would say prioritize. If you're running out of time on a day, prioritize the reading. And if you need to push something off, put the writing in another day, but try to get, if you could possibly do it, try to get 4 days of reading. And that's how you're going to get the best value for your time that you're putting in. Okay? That's it.
Thank you for holding the class.
You are welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm enjoying
Sorry about my.
this. It's been a while and I'm enjoying it. So, okay. I'll see you guys later. I'll see you on Friday. Okay?
Friday. The
Thank
officious
you.
worst day ever.
Actually, walete,
What-
everybody be well.
Wale.
Bye.
Is that bye in Latin? Wale?
Wale would be bye to you. Walete would be bye to all of you. It literally means be well. So.
Adios, amigos.